The people who control the room are rarely the loudest. They are the ones who no longer need anything from it. The moment you stop begging to be chosen, praised, forgiven, or understood, you become psychologically difficult to move, emotionally expensive to manipulate, and terrifying to anyone who survives by sensing your need. Which means, Chapter 1, emotional numbness is not damage. It is raw material. Most people misunderstand numbness. They think it is the end stage of heartbreak, failure, humiliation, burnout. They think it means something inside you died. Sometimes that is true, but more often, numbness is a transition state. It is the nervous system refusing to waste more energy on illusions that already betrayed it. This is where weak minds panic. They rush to feel again. They chase noise, rebound relationships, motivational slogans, shallow attention, artificial certainty. They interpret numbness as a defect and sprint back toward whatever previously anesthetized them. Approval, romance, social relevance, cheap stimulation. The stronger path is darker. You do not run from numbness. You study it. You weaponize it. Emotional numbness gives you one immediate advantage: reduced reactivity. And reduced reactivity is the first brick in an unbreakable mind. Every manipulator depends on your speed. They need you hurt quickly, flattered quickly, defensive quickly, guilty quickly. They need to predict your emotional timing. Numbness interrupts that pattern. Think about Roman generals returning from defeat. The survivors who rebuilt were not the most passionate in the aftermath. They were the ones cold enough to inventory losses without collapsing under sentiment. After Cannae, Rome did not survive because it felt powerful. It survived because it became disciplined under pressure. It counted what remained, stopped theatrical despair, and reorganized. That is your first tactic: convert numbness into observation. Step 1. Stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What still affects me?" Write it down with surgical precision. What names change your breathing? What memories disrupt your focus? What online behaviors expose your need for validation? Which rooms make you perform? Which people make you over-explain? Numbness is useful because it strips away some of the drama and reveals the trigger map underneath. Step 2. Remove interpretive language. Do not write, "She destroyed me." Write, "I check her profile after midnight when I feel uncertain about my status." Do not write, "Society is fake." Write, "I feel inferior when I compare my progress to curated public images." Precision drains self-pity and replaces it with data. Step 3. Build what I call the cold ledger. Every night, record 3 things: what triggered you, how you responded, and what response would make you harder to read next time. This is not journaling for healing. This is after-action review. Fighters do it. Intelligence agencies do it. Elite negotiators do it. Why should your mind be any less strategic than a battlefield unit? Real-life example. A man exits a relationship where he was constantly tested, ignored, and then reeled back in with affection. In the old pattern, one ambiguous message destroys his week. In the numb phase, he notices something important. The text itself is not the trigger. The trigger is what the text threatens: his fantasy of being significant to someone emotionally unavailable. The numbness gave him enough distance to separate event from meaning. That separation is power. And here is the first brutal truth you need to accept. The world does not reward emotional honesty nearly as much as it rewards emotional regulation. People say they value vulnerability. Often, they value vulnerability only when it entertains them, flatters them, or gives them leverage over you. The man or woman who can observe a storm internally without broadcasting it externally immediately changes the social hierarchy around them. Look at your own life. How many times did oversharing cost you authority? How many times did instant reaction expose your dependency before you even understood it? The answer is probably uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort means you are finally seeing the machine. Numbness, when directed, becomes stillness. Stillness becomes unreadability. And unreadability is the beginning of the phantom return. The phantom return is not about crawling back into a room and begging to be noticed. It is not revenge through noise. It is your re-entry after internal reconstruction, when the people who thought they understood your weaknesses realize the map no longer matches the territory. They expect the same man, the same need, the same wound. They meet a version that no longer leaks. That transformation begins the moment you stop trying to cure numbness and start using it as a sensory deprivation chamber for truth. Chapter 2. Starve the system that feeds on your reaction. If Chapter 1 was about observation, Chapter 2 is about deprivation. Not your deprivation, theirs. Society, social circles, former lovers, manipulative friends, attention economies, even families in some cases, often maintain influence through one mechanism. They provoke a reaction and then measure themselves against it. If you still react, they still occupy mental real estate. If you still explain yourself, they still control the frame. If you still seek closure from people who benefited from your confusion, you are financing your own psychological captivity. So tactic 2 is brutal and simple. Starve every system that feeds on your emotional output. This means no dramatic speeches, no final essays, no rage posting, no revenge flexing, no engineered jealousy, no fishing for witness statements from mutual friends. Silence is not passive when it is deliberate. It is a refusal to subsidize a game built to keep you unstable. Niccolò Machiavelli understood that visible desperation reduces perceived power faster than actual weakness. In political life, rulers could survive poverty, military setbacks, and hostile factions if they retained control of appearance. But once they appeared dependent on approval, every rival smelled blood. Human beings are still the same animal under better lighting. Here is the practical breakdown. Step 1. Identify your reaction economy. Where do you still perform? Is it social media? Is it the need to respond instantly? Is it dressing for the gaze of one specific person? Is it becoming extra agreeable in rooms where you fear exclusion? Every one of these behaviors is a tax you are paying to remain psychologically legible. Step 2. Cut the supply lines. Mute what you monitor obsessively. Delay all non-essential responses. Stop checking if your absence is noticed. Stop using your own pain as content. If a person only becomes warm when you pull away, do not celebrate. Recognize the pattern. They do not love your presence. They fear losing access. Step 3. Train response latency. This is one of the most underrated weapons in modern life. Do not answer immediately when emotionally charged. Give every provocation a cooling chamber. A message that would have controlled you at 10:03 can look childish at 40:30. Delay converts impulse into choice. A historical parallel exists in interrogation resistance training. Under pressure, the inexperienced subject talks to relieve tension. The trained subject understands that discomfort passes, but disclosed information cannot be recovered. In social life, the same rule applies. The emotion passes, the screenshot remains, the confession remains, the needy paragraph remains. Now break the fourth wall with me for a second. Look at the people around you. Who benefits most when you are emotionally noisy? Who seems energized when you are confused, apologetic, panicked, eager to explain? That person may not be your enemy in the theatrical sense, but they are absolutely attached to a weaker version of you. This is where the phantom return starts becoming visible. When you stop feeding the old system, people often become more active, not less. They poke, they test, they reappear casually. They ask mutuals about you. They send low-effort signals to see if the old hook still lands. Most people misread this as proof of renewed value. Wrong. It is often just system diagnostics. They are checking whether the machine still responds. Do not reward diagnostics with access. Real-life example. A woman leaves a workplace clique where her entire identity revolved around being helpful, available, emotionally responsive. Once she withdraws and becomes professionally precise instead of socially excessive, the group first labels her cold, then intimidating, then impressive. Notice the sequence. First they punish the loss of access, then they reinterpret the same behavior as strength because they can no longer extract from it. That is how social psychology works. Scarcity alters perception. Another example. After a breakup, a man stops posting coded messages, stops watching stories, stops replying to bait, and redirects all energy into training, sleep, work, and speech reduction. Weeks later, contact returns. But by then, the important thing has changed. He no longer experiences contact as oxygen. It is just information. Once a stimulus loses its narcotic value, your entire position changes. And that is the deeper goal here. Not making them come back. Making their return irrelevant to your stability. If your peace depends on being understood, validated, chosen, or chased, you are still externally governed. Starve the system. Let your silence create informational darkness. In darkness, weak people project. Strong people reposition. Chapter 3. Build the identity that does not negotiate with loneliness. Most dependency is not romantic, it is existential. People do not crave her approval or society's validation merely because they admire those things. They crave them because without them, they feel unreal. That is the disease. External mirrors have become substitutes for self-definition. Tactic 3 is to become the kind of person whose identity survives solitude. The philosopher Schopenhauer warned that ordinary people are terrified of being alone because solitude removes distraction and forces a confrontation with internal poverty. This is why crowds feel safer than truth. This is why some people remain in humiliating relationships or degrading social environments. It is not because those environments are nourishing. It is because emptiness, to the untrained mind, feels like death. So you train loneliness until it becomes jurisdiction. Step 1. Establish non-performative routines. A non-performative routine is something you do that no one sees, praises, likes, comments on, or rewards socially. Reading difficult books, walking without music, training without posting, cooking clean meals, waking early without announcing it. These acts seem small, but they restore a shattered principle. Your behavior can still be governed internally. Step 2. Remove audience contamination. Do some things badly in private and keep doing them until they become competent. The point is not mastery. The point is reclaiming action from image. The man who only lifts to be admired is still a servant. The woman who only succeeds where she can be applauded is still psychologically rented by the room. Step 3. Create standards that function in isolation. What kind of room do you keep when nobody visits? What language do you use when nobody can hear you? How disciplined are you when admiration is impossible? Character is not what shines in public. Character is what remains operational in invisibility. Consider Miyamoto Musashi, the swordsman who wrote about strategy, perception, and the need to detach from ornamental ego. His power did not come from being adored, it came from rigorous internal orientation. The battlefield only revealed what solitude had built. Now think about your own life. If all validation disappeared for 90 days, who would you become? More importantly, what would collapse? Your style, your ambition, your consistency, your confidence. If the answer is yes, then your identity has been outsourced. That is intolerable. Here's the chilling part. Many people you miss never actually loved the real you. They loved the version of you that was easiest to influence, the agreeable version, the available version, the uncertain version, the version that asked, "Am I enough?" with its behavior every day. Once you stop asking, some relationships fade, not because you became worse, but because you became expensive to control. Real-life example. A young entrepreneur spends years chasing status symbols because he wants former classmates to see his rise. Every move is reactive. Every achievement is secretly addressed to an invisible jury. Then a market crash strips away the applause. He enters a numb season. In that silence, he discovers something humiliating but liberating. He never built a life he respected in private. Only one he hoped others would envy. That realization becomes the foundation of a harder, cleaner identity. The phantom return at this stage is not visible externally yet. It is internal. You stop fantasizing about being witnessed. You become your own jurisdiction. Solitude stops feeling like abandonment and starts feeling like sovereignty. Chapter 4. Master the phantom return by re-entering without explaining. There is a reason many comebacks fail. The person returns too early, too loudly, and too eager to display transformation. But display is often compensation. If your growth has to announce itself, it is not yet rooted. The phantom return is a disciplined reappearance after absence, restructuring, and detachment. You do not return to prove a point. You return because your life now naturally intersects with spaces that once reduced you, and you enter them with no need to settle old emotional debts. Tactic 4 is strategic re-entry. Step 1. Do not rehearse revenge scenarios. Revenge fantasies reveal unfinished dependence. If you still need them shocked, regretful, jealous, guilty, then they still own too much symbolic authority inside your head. Your goal is not to dominate their thoughts. Your goal is to make them irrelevant to your regulation. Step 2. Simplify your presence. When you re-enter a room, a social network, a professional environment, or even contact with someone who once destabilized you, reduce excess. Fewer words, cleaner posture, slower speech, no emotional debris in your tone. The less you advertise your inner history, the more unsettling your composure becomes. Intelligence officers are trained to avoid unnecessary autobiographical leakage because identity details create handles. In ordinary life, emotional leakage does the same. Every rambling justification gives others material to categorize you. The phantom return denies them fresh material. Step 3. Let consistency do the talking. One composed encounter means nothing. 10 in a row rewrites perception. If people once knew you as reactive, pleading, eager, chaotic, impulsive, then your calm must outlast their memory of your former pattern. This is not theater. It is statistical persuasion. History gives us many examples. Think of Winston Churchill before and after periods of political exile. For years, he was dismissed, sidelined, framed as outdated. But when crisis transformed context, he re-entered with unusual force because he had continued shaping his mind in the wilderness. The return only looked sudden to people who had not been paying attention. This is the law of silent reconstruction. To outsiders, the return seems mysterious. To you, it is mechanical. And now the most dangerous piece: never explain your distance to people who benefited from your confusion. If they did not understand your silence, they would have misunderstood your paragraphs too. Explanations feel noble, but often they are covert requests to be interpreted correctly. The unbreakable mind no longer begs for correct interpretation. Real-life example: a man encounters the woman who once had him emotionally disorganized. In the past, he would have overperformed confidence, made sarcastic remarks, hinted at success, tried to signal indifference while secretly seeking impact. In the phantom return, he simply remains measured, courteous, and brief. No tension management, no score settling, no emotional theater. He leaves the encounter as clean as he entered it. That is power, because nothing was requested. Another example: someone returns to a family environment where they were once guilt-managed into overgiving. Instead of debating old narratives, they change logistics. Shorter visits, fewer disclosures, firmer boundaries, calm refusal, no moral essay attached. Families that fed on explanation usually escalate when they are no longer fed one. Let them. Boundaries become real only when they survive accusation. The phantom return is frightening to others for one reason: it reveals that access was never the same thing as ownership. Chapter 5: The 7 Weapons of Emotional Numbness. Now we bring everything together. Emotional numbness becomes dangerous when it is refined into 7 practical weapons. Weapon 1: response discipline. You do not answer from the first wave of feeling, you answer from chosen timing. Step by step, pause, breathe, physically move, rewrite the message if necessary, then ask whether silence would communicate more strength than language. In corporate conflicts, diplomatic exchanges, breakups, and family disputes, this single habit eliminates half the mistakes weak people spend years repairing. Weapon 2: informational starvation. Not everyone deserves your updates, your plans, your confusion, your pain, your hopes. Information is intimacy. Intimacy is leverage. Step by step. Reduce disclosures, especially in unstable relationships. Stop narrating your future before it exists. Never tell people what they could use to interrupt your momentum. Caesar survived many battles through speed and decisiveness, but political betrayal thrived in circles where too much access was normalized. Weapon 3: aesthetic coldness. This is not cruelty. It is precision in posture, space, and presentation. Clean appearance, controlled voice, minimal fidgeting, direct eye contact without hunger. Humans judge emotional availability before they judge content. If you look internally scattered, you will be treated as negotiable. If you look integrated, your words gain weight before you speak. Weapon 4: solitude immunity. If being alone still terrifies you, anyone can control you with intermittent attention. Step by step, schedule deliberate solitude, remove compulsive contact habits, do difficult tasks alone, and stop reaching for noise every time your mind gets quiet. The person immune to loneliness cannot be lured as easily by inconsistent affection. Weapon 5: pain transmutation. This is where most people fail. They either suppress pain until it leaks sideways, or they indulge it until it becomes identity. The disciplined path is conversion. Betrayal becomes sharper standards. Rejection becomes training. Humiliation becomes improved competence. Grief becomes seriousness. Viktor Frankl, surviving the unimaginable, observed that meaning can be built even in suffering. If pain can be given direction, it stops being merely destructive. Weapon 6. Narrative refusal. You refuse identities assigned by people who only knew your lowest season. Weak, needy, obsessed, broken, dramatic. Replace all of it with action, not argument. Step by step, never debate your label, outlive it, let reality become your rebuttal. People are lazy perceivers. They cling to old stories until your behavior makes those stories too expensive to maintain. Weapon 7. Internal throne. This is the final weapon. You stop placing your worth in public hands. No applause can stabilize you. No rejection can define you. No woman's approval can crown you. No society can certify your existence. Step by step, define your code, review it daily, live by standards that do not bend around attraction, status, or fear, and measure your day by obedience to your own principles. Once this weapon is built, manipulation loses oxygen. That is the unbreakable mind. Not a mind that feels nothing, but a mind that no longer surrenders command because it feels something. And understand this clearly. The goal is not to become inhuman. The goal is to become difficult to exploit. There is a difference. You can still love, still create, still care, still feel awe, still grieve. But you no longer spill your center into the hands of crowds, lovers, algorithms, and opportunists. The final form of the Phantom Return is simple. You come back to life, to rooms, to ambition, to attraction, to challenge, but not as a petitioner, not as a wounded performer, not as someone asking to be seen. You return as someone who has already seen himself clearly. And once that happens, society's validation becomes decorative. Her approval becomes optional. Your calm becomes expensive. Your silence becomes charged. Your absence becomes educational. Your presence becomes verdict. That is how emotional numbness, once feared as an emptiness, becomes a weaponized architecture for freedom. If this disturbed you, good. It means you're beginning to see how much of human behavior is organized around need, and how much power returns the moment that need is cut at the root. But insight is worthless without repetition, structure, and application. Build the cold ledger. Train response latency. Practice solitude without witnesses. Re-enter rooms without explaining your distance. Let your life become the argument. To master these tactics in real life, get the Silent Observer's Playbook, or check out the recommended reading in the description below. Like and subscribe for more.